This is Dr. Daniel Daves. I'm with Andrew Foote. We are bringing you today a great little webinar, I believe, and it's called Move to Panama. Are you interested in moving to Panama? We have many different topics to share. We're planning on doing these webinars over the next few weeks. There is such a flood, such a plethora of people who are asking questions by email and telephone. We figured it'd be better to start trudging out some of these questions and answers on a webinar, official webinar, where people can ask the questions live. And so tonight, our goal is going to be we're going to talk about the legalities of moving to Panama, the actual immigration process. Before we do that, for those of you who are watching the webinar, and welcome to all of you, if you're on by phone, you're not going to see what we're seeing, but at a later time you'll be able to replay this and watch it in full online. So first of all, for those of you who are watching the webinar, you may see my website up front here. I just want to offer that website and the services that are on the website. You may see right in the middle of the top menu bar, it says Move Americas. And if you'll click on that thing, you can download a free, it's a little free pamphlet that you can fill out. And this thing, if you'll fill it out and fax it or email it back, then we can help you with a more determined capacity to answer your questions. And some of the questions might be, how many are in your family? What foods do you like to eat? Someone who's planning to move out of the country. There's basically 3 levels of moving out. You want to live in rich luxury lifestyle? Do you want to live like you did back in the U.S.? Or are you willing to bump it down a notch and come in at a cheaper rate? Those are things that we need to know. One guy may say, well, I'm coming in my helicopter, so get my helicopter pad ready. And another may say, not even going to own a car because I'm retired. I just want to take advantage of the bus and taxi system. We just need to know that so we know we're on the same page when we do spend time together on the phone or by email. So feel free to do that. That would be great. Also, I've got I do have a couple of book resources for you. For those of you who do know, I was the one who wrote the book, Warning America, Attempted Hostile Takeover Exposed, which speaks about 2 dreams that I had in 2008, which I believe were from God. The other book is the Compass Guide, which I believe is very important for this time frame because the Compass Guide 1-year life planner will help you to find out who you are and where you belong on this earth. And I think so many Christians, so many believers right now are asking God, where do you want me? I don't like what I see. I don't like what's going on around me, and it's awakened me to start asking tough questions. And rather than just running in fear or making decisions that may not be beneficial for you or your family, it's better, I believe, to find out really who God has called you to be. And that's what the Compass Guide program will dig out. It will find deep down inside of you the true gold, silver, and precious stones, and it'll give you a compass so that you know the direction you're supposed to go. Some people may need to head north, some south, some east, some west. Don't make the wrong decision. Of course, to not decide is to already decide and make that wrong decision. So lastly, on this page you'll see we have a website called globalfoodproviders.com. That is a program that is based out of Panama. We're growing and building it. We're planning to feed the world. And if you have an interest in growing your own food, organic food, growing for commercial, for export, then that website may be for you. We are ramping up and preparing for a global initiative to feed the world. One 30-second shot on that, and that is in 10 short years from now, 2025, World Health Organization and many others say that the world is going to run out of food. Over 40% of the world will not be able to eat 1,000 calories of food per day. This is going to require a huge, massive sweep and a change in the way that the church does business. And if we will, the church, the believers, the Christians, if we will step up to the plate we can have the food and we can feed the world and bring the gospel of Jesus Christ along with that food. If we don't do it, there will most certainly be world war and a lot of death. And so we have an opportunity now to ramp up and do it. You will find on the video section of that globalfoodproviders.com website, one of our video highlights is an investor who he says clearly that farmers in the next 10 years will be driving Lamborghinis. He said that everyone hates farming. They've moved to the city. They all want a plush job, and we've actually run out of farmers, and the farmers we have are all going to be retiring in the next 10 years. So we have this double whammy, and if you've ever wanted to farm and ever thought about doing something for humanity that's much, much bigger than anything you've ever been a part of, maybe Panama is for you, because Panama, the section we live in, is filled with food growing environment. The Cherokee province is the province that provides food for the whole nation, and the government of Panama wants to export so tremendously. They're willing to help you by cutting checks and helping you to get involved to be a farmer. I think that's pretty exciting. I also want to show you tonight Andrew's website, Strength for the Journey. That's strength, 4, thejourney.com. Andrew has a wonderful ministry based here out of Panama, and he does a weekly radio program that's very, very powerful. And so, Andrew, if you're not on here right now, I am showing your website right now. And please frequent that. And as Andrew speaks tonight, he's one of those great prophetic voices that has a word from the Lord on all occasions. I'm so thankful for him. And when God speaks to him in these little micro sentences, it's so powerful and impacting. You'll remember that single sentence for years because it's life-changing. So thankful to have you on board, Andrew. And also for those of you who may not know, Andrew also deals in gold and silver. He is a premium gold and silver provider, dealer here in the Cherokee province. He knows all the connections in Panama. He knows where to store it. He knows how to get it. And if you're considering at all making a move, he has the wisdom to help you either move or to buy on the Panama side the gold and silver that you believe that you need. I honestly have been overwhelmed with emails and phone calls over the last few months. I know that Andrew and others have been as well. Americans don't like what they see. And without going into detail, I don't think we need to go too far into detail because the news headlines tell the story 10 times a day. What really is going on? For me, I don't personally need the headlines. I received 2 dreams from the Lord that told me what was coming. I got those back in 2008, so I was able to begin making movements and preparing for a move for my family, my faith, my finances, and my future. I want to share these scriptures with you today because I, as kind of a kingdom guy, I'm not interested in myself running from the devil or from hard times. But I want to run towards God's calling in my life. And I really believe God is waking us all up, and He is calling for us to take a second look at the calling that He has put on our lives. So the first scripture that I have for us tonight, and I believe this is a good prerequisite because I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of Americans are running for their lives and they're making critical, wrong decisions. They're making decisions out of fear. And we have seen, both Andrew and I have seen many Americans who've actually come running up the Panama Mountain only to have made the wrong decisions at the wrong time, and they run right back down the mountain and right back to the U.S. broke and unsure of what to do. And we do not want that for you, for anyone who is trying to make a move by faith. So let's take a look at the scriptures. I think they'll always help direct us. We know Mark 16, 11 through 20. It says, when they heard that Jesus was alive and that she, Mary, had seen him, they did not believe it. Afterwards, Jesus appeared in a different form to two of them while they were walking in the country. These returned and reported it to the rest, but they did not believe them either. Well, later, Jesus appeared to the 11 as they were eating. He rebuked them for their lack of faith and their stubborn refusal to believe those who had seen him after he had risen. Here's the key. He said to them, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation. Whoever believes and is baptized will be saved, but whoever does not believe will be condemned, and these signs will accompany those who believe. In my name they will drive out demons, they will speak in new tongues, they will pick up snakes with their hands, and when they drink deadly poison, it will not hurt them at all. They will place their hands on sick people, and they will get well." After the Lord Jesus had spoken to them, he was taken up into heaven as he sat at the right hand of God. Then the disciples went out and preached everywhere, and the Lord worked with them and confirmed his word by the signs that accompanied it. Well, there was a mouthful right there. But this is the story of Jesus rebuking the disciples for their unbelief, and then he told them, he commanded. He didn't offer. This wasn't the great request. This was the great commission, which is a co-mission. It means two people on a mission, you and Jesus. And he said, go into the world, all the world, and preach the gospel to all creation. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I pastored in the United States for 20 years. I took missions trips, and that's where we saw a lot of outpouring of God's grace and a lot of miracles in our missions trips. But I'm going to be honest, so many Christians in the United States have no plans of going into all the world and preaching the gospel. As a matter of fact, we are redefining exactly what happened back here in the days of the apostles. As we look at the next scripture, Acts 8, 1 through 8, we know that Stephen, the great deacon that was brought on board to help lead, he got himself in a situation. He was preaching the gospel, and they stoned him to death because of his witness towards the Jews. And in verse 1 of Acts 8, it says, Saul approved of their killing him. On that day, a great persecution broke out against the church in Jerusalem, and all except the apostles were scattered throughout Judea and Samaria. Godly men buried Stephen and mourned deeply for him, but Saul began to destroy the church. Going from house to house, he dragged off both men and women and put them in prison. Those who had been scattered preached the word everywhere they went. Philip went down to a city in Samaria, proclaimed the Messiah there. When the crowds heard Philip and saw the signs he performed, they all paid close attention to what he said, for with shrieks impure spirits came out of many, and many who were paralyzed or lame were healed. So there was great joy in that city. Here's what these scriptures tell me. We in the United States and in the Western church world, we're really repeating exactly what happened in the book of Acts. Jesus told the apostles, he said, wait until the power of the Holy Spirit comes upon you, and then go to Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the uttermost parts of the earth. But they got comfortable in Jerusalem. So comfortable that they said, no, I don't think we're going to go anywhere. I think we're going to hang out here because this is good times. And so the Lord allows the stoning of Stephen, and that stoning struck fear into the people, and to some degree a healthy, respectful fear and a remembrance that Jesus said, I'm not asking. I told you to go to all the nations. You see, a kingdom person, a person born again, our born again kingdom citizenship is not U.S. citizen, Canadian citizen, Mexico, or wherever else that we were born in. Our citizenship is in heaven, and heaven says the whole world is our inheritance. So sometimes trouble and persecution will come, and sometimes Sauls will come around and start dragging people out of their houses or putting pressure down on the church, and it causes people to say, hey, let me take a second look at this. It might be, God may be calling me out. And so we see here that it happened in the book of Acts, and so many believers now actually are moving forward and looking at leaving the United States. I want to highly encourage you, don't leave in fear. Don't run, because if you run from the devil, you'll always be running from the devil. But find out what God wants you to do and where God wants you to be, and then be where He is. That's called right standing. That's righteousness. Right standing is standing right where He is. And if He is in Panama and wants you in Panama, by all means, and at all cost, get to Panama. If He wants you in Bangladesh, get to Bangladesh. But this is the time to find out where He wants you. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Andrew.
I kind of looked at it like, you've been wanting us to go out probably for a lot longer than I was listening, for Him to tell us that it's time to leave, to go to the nations. I traveled with the ministry for many years as a photographer, and I had some experience being outside the United States. But when I realized that what He was wanting to do, it was just a little bit of motivation I needed. It's like the children of Israel when they went through the Red Sea. They needed Pharaoh's army, I think, to motivate them to get through the other side. And I think that's probably what a lot of people are feeling right now, is they feel like Pharaoh's army is on their backside. But God just is using that to motivate His people to leave and to go to the nations, because that's where the harvest is right now. That it's not, I don't believe it's any longer in the United States until some really hard things happen, and then they might have a softer heart and be broken and be willing to listen. But the nations right now are hungry for the gospel, and but the problem is there are very few laborers out there, and so God is calling laborers out. And one of the things the Lord said to me after I got here, He said, "I didn't deliver you for your purpose. I delivered you for my purpose." He said, just as you didn't create yourself, neither could you deliver yourself. You're delivered for my purpose and not your own. So I realized that I wasn't just, whatever I kind of figured what I wanted to do here. I had to get my marching orders and my assignment and plug into what God had for me. And once I kind of set my heart to find out what the Lord wanted me to do here, and just found a place to serve, that's when the doors began to open up and the opportunities began to happen. But it took really a humbling and a place of brokenness that you feel like you've been stripped of everything. Because this is where I was. I didn't really know anybody. We came here as like some first people as far as gringos. I mean, there are gringos here, but as far as really blazing a trail for the Lord right now, there wasn't many. Actually, most of our friends were mostly Panamanians from a local church here, but they really welcomed us, and we just plugged in and just found where we could help, and we held a little Bible study, and that's what I just encourage you to, is that wherever the Lord, if it's here, just find a place that you can plug in. It's a little bit shocking, I think, for most, and it was for us too, just to leave. It's like having a tree in the ground for a long time, and you're going to grab this tree up by the roots, and you're going to transplant this tree. I had a very interesting experience a number of years ago from a fellow that was a landscaper, and I went over to his house one day, and I noticed there was a tree missing in the front yard that was there. When the previous time I was there was a big magnolia tree, and it was gone. And when I went to the backyard, because we were barbecuing in his backyard, I noticed there was a big magnolia tree in his backyard, and I kind of scratched my head for a second. I thought, what's going on here? I said, where'd that tree come from? I said, there was one in the front yard is missing now. And he said, well, that's the same tree. I just didn't like it in the front yard anymore. I decided to move it to the backyard. And I said, well, what do you mean? How'd you move such a big tree? How'd you transplant that thing? He said, it wasn't that hard. I just dug a big group all around it, and I laid it over on its side, and I stripped all the leaves off of it. And then I brought it in the backyard and dug a hole and stuck it in the ground and watered. There it is. I go, wait a minute. I said, you stripped all the leaves off of it, and didn't that kill the tree? He said, no, that's what saved the tree. And it just like something just hit me when he said those words, that that is the part that God tries to, he said that unless you forsake all, you cannot be my disciple. There's a stripping that has to take place where you're broken and you're willing to obey and be discipled. And I think most of us, living in the United States for as many years as probably all of us are on the phone have, you don't really see that place of brokenness and forsaking all, and like Luke chapter 14 describes. But this is what I think God is doing with all of us right now. He's stripping us, and He's wants to transplant us so that our heart's not on our leaves anymore, but are on our roots, and be willing to really dig our roots down deep so that we can be nourished by the Lord. And I said to him, I said, Lord, if you don't feed me, I'm going to die. Literally, I felt like I was just abandoned. I did abandon everything. Nobody I didn't have. We left everything. We came with suitcases, and I heard him speak back to me. He said, good. When I said, I feel like I'm going to die, he said, good, now you're where I want you. Because I was in a desperate place for him. And I think a move like this where you leave the country and you are on very unfamiliar ground is very challenging, and it'll test you to the core how committed you are, and whether you are really going to follow through with your commitment to do this, because frankly we've seen a number of people that we thought were really solid believers, and usually if they can make it 6 months, they might make it longer, but it seems like the 6 months part they just say, well, it's too hard, I'm going to go back to the United States, and it's easier there. So that's why what Daniel's trying to say is that get your marching orders from the Lord. What do you want me to do? And I'll tell you, you may just have just divinely appointed moments, and this is what happened to us. God was just confirming that He wanted us here. And once you know you're supposed to come, then don't turn back. Keep your face to the wind. There's a story in where Jesus had just fed the multitudes, and then He told His disciples He'll meet Him on the other side of the lake. And when they got into the boat and started going across the lake, there was a storm that rose up, and it said that they had contrary winds blowing against them. But it said they kept rowing through the night, and in the fourth watch, that's when Jesus came walking on the water. And one thing that just really fascinates me is that they never turned the sails and headed back for the shore until the storm went away. They just kept rowing against the storm because they had a direction. God had said, Jesus said, I'll meet you on the other side. And that's kind of when you get your marching orders and you know this is where I'm supposed to go, you no matter what winds blow your way, because I guarantee you they will come. The contrary winds will come against you, because if the Lord wants you someplace, the enemy's going to do everything he can to stop you. And if you're not hearing, if you're not confident, well, I guess maybe we just didn't hear because there's just too much problems. I can't tell you, our children, myself, I think we were in the emergency room, 3 or 4 times in about 6 weeks. Emergency dental visits. We had just car wrecks. I mean, you name it. You think, boy, what else can go wrong? But that we knew that we were just under major warfare, and we just had to keep fighting it out. We just took it to the enemy. My wife went on prayer runs in the mountains. Just instead of prayer walks, we just started just going afterwards. There's a lot of witchcraft here. But this all to say is that, it's something that God is calling you to a place. You just have to keep your face to the wind, and if you'll do that, God will meet you in the middle of whatever's going on. But what we'd like to do is maybe just describe some of the things, some of the practicalities that you need to know. But I think this is very important that you kind of have a foundation of your pursuit to follow God and know that you're hearing from Him, that this is what He wants you to do. And this is a great time just to really hear from the Lord. And I just encourage you, even if the Lord, you feel like He's waking you up during the night, you can't sleep, get up, and if you have some thoughts going through your mind, get a journal and begin to write your thoughts down and see what the Lord may be saying. But this is the time really to really humble yourself, and God wants to put His mark on each one of us right now. But the key is humility and brokenness and repentance, and you watch what God's going to do with you.
This is the time to know exactly where you are to move. And the nations are shifting. Property lines are being dissolved. Nations that we're going to see in the future are going to change names. They're going to change ownership. This whole world in the next 5 or 10 years is going to look so much different than it does today. And much of it, amazingly enough, is by God's design. However, so many of us don't like change. And, even a lot of God's kids, we don't like change, you know. It rubs against our flesh. But everything's changing around us. And so when we talk about you moving yourself, your family, your ministry, your business, maybe your job capacity, moving it offshore, moving your finances offshore, there's so much to discuss. And again, the nations are calling out and crying out. I want to tell you, if you speak English and know anything about the Bible, I remember being a young guy in the United States looking at the top preachers out there up on the pulpits, and I thought, man, I could never be like those guys, you know. But amazingly enough, the world doesn't need those guys. The world needs you. And the world is calling and crying out for you. If you speak English and can teach some English, if you're a nurse and you know some nursing care, if you know how to build furniture, you could build a house straight and make it plumb. The world needs you. The whole world's crying out for your gifts and callings that are inside of you. So think about that, and don't be afraid. Don't feel that you have to replicate the United States of America and the church in the U.S. out here in the world. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you that you will not survive or succeed if you try to replicate the United States church out in the rest of the world, because what the United States church has done and gotten away with, it's going to go away. The church in the U.S., the Western world, is going to be completely different, and a lot of it is going away. The old wineskin is represented in a lot of what we've done in the past. God has winced at it in the past, but in the future, He is commanding kingdom, apostolic, New Testament change. Not the type of change that we've seen and enjoyed, but true change that will change nations and come with power from heaven. So in that, I'll just throw out a couple things that I've seen. You know, the nations over in Europe, they're crying out for people to come. Spain will give you a permanent residency if you'll just buy a home. A lot of the Caribbean nations, they'll give you a passport if you'll invest a certain amount of money into them. Costa Rica, I lived in Costa Rica for 3.5 years. They'll give you residency if you can jump through their hoops. There's quite a few hoops to jump through, but it's just normal stuff. It's not like they're fighting you to come in. It's just that the left hand doesn't quite know what the right hand's doing. And as a matter of fact, all the Central American nations and most of the South American nations, they'll all let you come right on in, get residency, get set up. You can set up shop. You can either enter as a retired individual and then just do good works, work with a church or do something there, or you can set up business. And in some cases, you can get a job. However, job is not at the forefront for anyone who is planning to come out here into Central or South America. Jobs are hard to get. Why? Because the Panamanian or the Costa Rican, he's working for $3 to $4 an hour. And unless you can trump that and you're willing to work for the same amount of money and live at his level, which may be a dirt floor, or it may be a small concrete home with a tin roof and no front door, then you can compete for that job. Otherwise, I think God wants you to become very entrepreneurial and creative and use some of that creative gifting that is so prevalent on all United States Christians, and bring it down and just help the world and do something big. So again, all the nations are calling. But I want to talk to you, and Andrew wants to talk to you about Panama, because Panama is calling in particular. Without going into great detail, Panama is showing itself to be a very godly and Christian nation. In a day where it's hard to find anyone who will stand up for God, Panama and Panama officials, many of them are making stands and actually pointing out and saying the United States is taking God out of the courts, but we're putting God into our courts. They're taking God out of the schools, but we're putting God into our schools. The police chief down the road here in David, Panama, where close to where we live, he has said, we will take care of the social programs, whether it's in the prisons or the schools or on the streets with the gangs, but we cannot take care of the spiritual need, and we need all pastors and missionaries to come in and boldly take hold of that, and we will help you get into position to minister to these people. One of our friends here who moved here just in the last 6 months has actually started a weekly Bible college in the prison system of David, Panama. He walked in and in one meeting had a Bible college started. That's how hungry they are in that prison for some truth and for the gospel. It's a refreshing thing to see a nation that's somewhat hungry for God. Now, Panama, along with most Central and South American nations, they are Catholic in their origin. That's the Spaniards came through and settled all of these nations, and most all of the towns have a Catholic church and a square, and everything is kind of centered around and revolves around the Catholic Church. However, if you look at the details, just go out to Wikipedia or anywhere online, and you'll see that the Catholic Church is drastically reducing in population numbers, and the evangelical movement is booming in the Americas as people are coming in and taking their head knowledge from their Catholicism, and it's moving into their hearts, and they're becoming evangelical, born-again Christians. It's an exciting thing to see hunger in a nation after living in nations that aren't hungry at all. As a matter of fact, Andrew, he was a great evangelist, and has taken, I'm not sure how many tracts, but I know in his last round he picked up over 100,000 tracts and is helping churches to hand them out, and he's always handing tracts out, and it's amazing to us. We see all Panamanians not only will read the tract, but they'll come back and trade it in to see if they can get another one and read a different story, and they'll all read their tracts. But if you hand one to a visiting, vacationing American, they'll either push it back in your face and say, "Get it out of my face," or they'll throw it on the ground. And that's kind of the difference between the Americas and North America. North America's had its day to a great degree. Many people have made their decision. But in the Americas, it's ripe for harvest, especially in Panama. So we're real excited about this what I consider to be a godly nation. If you look online, you look at a map of Panama, we are over in Boquete, Panama, a nice, cool, 65 to 85 degree city, a little town, up nestled in the mountains. It's called the land of eternal spring. It's that temperature all year long. It's gorgeous, and it's safe. Very little crime. If you've ever lived in a farm town of 20 or 25,000 people, that's about what it feels like. And Boquete actually is a bilingual town where almost every restaurant, every store, every place has got someone who speaks English, which makes it a very nice transitional place for families to come who may not know the Spanish language. You can get around in English, start learning Spanish, and maybe use this as a platform for your next launch into the nations. The Boquete is over on the west side, over towards the Costa Rican border, and I'll give you a couple quick notes on that. Boquete is 30 minutes up the mountain from David, or David. The city of David was settled by Jewish settlers, hence the name David. I like that. And as you look up the mountain, where Boquete is, there's a big volcano. Yes, it's dormant, but it's a big volcano, and it's called the Baru volcano, which actually was named Baruch, which means in Hebrew, I believe it is, the blessing. And so there's all kinds of historical roots, Jewish roots in this land, and there seems to be a real favoritism towards the gospel of Jesus Christ here. And Israel has recently said that Panama is one of her closest friends. I like to hear that myself. Well, if you have an inkling of moving to Panama, you need to jump on a plane and come down for at least a discovery tour. Come down for a week or two. Get a hotel room, or get a hostel room, or there's little places Andrew knows of, some places, little apartments you can get for rent, very inexpensive. Come down, trot around on this thing, and see if it could be something that you and your family could live in and could prosper in and could be beneficial in, not just to survive in, but to come and help the people of Panama. Now, if that's the case, and you say, I'm in, I believe we're coming down, then tonight the rest of this webinar is for you. I'm going to go through a series of slides, and then I'm going to turn it over to Andrew right after that, and we're going to go through here, how do I immigrate into Panama? First of all, wherever you end up immigrating to, make sure you cover your base. Every time when the world shifts happen and political powers start forcing their way into people's lives, almost every time somewhere the Iron Curtain comes down. And when that Iron Curtain comes down, no money leaves and no money comes in. Nobody leaves and nobody comes in. So it's very important that you cover yourself legally. Just because you have a U.S. passport means nothing in today's world. As a matter of fact, there is a new policy. It was not voted in by Congress, but it doesn't need to be anymore because we've really left the Constitution in the United States. And the new policy says if anyone owes the IRS more than $50,000, the IRS can cancel your passport and not let you leave. Andrew and I personally know a man right now who is not allowed to leave because he has a small IRS tax bill, and until he gets that tax bill paid, he is not allowed to leave the country. Amazing. And imagine that. But let me tell you this, if you're a U.S. citizen, you already owe the government $55,000 and growing, because that is your part of the national debt. It's interesting that they've called for a $50,000 number. That means they can stop every single American citizen who would want to leave the country for any purpose. They can put an iron curtain, a wall down by fiat policy, and say, no, until you pay your part of the national debt, you're not leaving. Therefore, my friend, you have to get your legal capacity together. So let's talk about how can we do that. Panama is offering many different immigration opportunities. You can come in as a retired individual. You can come in, you can put some cash down in a reforestry project and get a resident permit. But the greatest permit that I have ever seen myself, and I believe it to be the best permit, the visa permit that is available anywhere in the world right now, is called the Friendly Nations Visa. This was put together by the former president. He put it by executive order. Because it's executive order and not law, it could go away at any time. A lot of the current administration people and people of Panama are not happy with the former president, and they're talking about reversing or taking away a lot of the things he has done. Now, they can never reverse an immigration allowing you in, but they can stop it. And so I would say wherever you need to be, you need to make hay while the sun is shining. And indeed, every day we wake up and we've got another free day ahead of us is another great day of God's mercy and grace on our lives. But as I've heard a prophet once tell me, son, you'd better not be late. So the Friendly Nations Visa is such a great program. And we'll take a quick look here at this program. As you can see here on the slides, change is ahead. The world is changing all around us. And with this Friendly Nations Visa, you are allowed to come in with very minimal paperwork. Here is Panama. Here is the Panama Canal. There's the city, Panama City. Colón, which is the Caribbean side, and the Pacific side is on Panama City. Here is David, and right up from David, right up here on this mountain where I'm drawing the little circle, that is where we're at in Boquete, and this is all a food-growing province, gorgeous, lush, and if you'll come up the mountain with us, it's nice and cool all year long. Okay, so I have just a few photos to show you. Here is some photos of Panama City. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous city. I consider Panama City to be a mixture of Las Vegas, Los Angeles, and New York City with a Spanish flair. And so as you can see the pictures of Panama City, you'll need to visit it sometime. It's just gorgeous. There's another region that is absolutely gorgeous called Bocas del Toro. It's a great place. If you just want to disappear and live the beach life, then that's exactly what this place will offer you. However, there is not much going on other than a little bit of tourism there and some fishing and snorkeling. So if you like the beach life, I've met a lot of guys who started there, spent a few years there, ran out of money there, and came over to our province and started real estate companies or got busy building a family. So this is about 3.5-hour drive right now from where we're at in Boquete. It's gorgeous, as you can see, and absolutely stunning and beautiful. In David, that's right down the road where we're at, a really nice city. I think it's about 150,000 people. All of the amenities that you can imagine there. I'm showing a picture right now of Conway, which is it's owned by Target. It's a beautiful store. You have all of the stores, electronic stores, and grocery stores are gorgeous. Everything you can imagine are right here in David. Anything that you would ever need, for the most part, other than Rotel and Velveeta cheese. We import that through suitcases when we come down. That's our family love anyway. And you'll always find something in a nation that just doesn't show up that you're used to. But that's David. And then here's Boquete. A few shots of Boquete. Boquete, interestingly enough, for you who are believers, Boquete, yes, we get the word bouquet, and it is the city of flowers, I'm telling you. However, Boquete, in its true Latin form, means the narrow gap or the narrow gate. And we really have seen, Andrew can attest to this as well, when you come into Boquete, you're coming in through the narrow gate. And it's like the fire, the heat's turned up, and everything you've ever been as a Christian, as a believer, is really tried and tested. And it's really the best way to be successful here is to be a missionary and to be here sold out for God, saying, I'm not going home till God takes me home. I'm here because He's got me here. And with that in mind, you will do just fine in the narrow gate, which only few find. However, more and more are finding it. There's over 5,000 North American expats, Europeans, Canadians, United States citizens here who are retired. And they are, many of them only speak English. And so you'll see it's rated, I believe, in 2014 as the #1 retirement haven in the world. So it's really a great place. Good roads, good infrastructure, nice homes, great food, organic living, beautiful, cool, crisp, clean air, no chemtrails, no troubles. We just love it here. It's a slice of heaven as far as I'm concerned. The Friendly Nations visa, if you want to come in and live in any of these locations, or even more of them that I haven't shown. I'm showing you now the 47 nations that the Friendly Nations visa program covers. If you are from any of these nations, you have a passport from them, you can come into the Friendly Nations program. And this is the easiest program you'll ever experience as far as immigration. So let's take a look here at what you need as documents. There is a web link there if you can type through that. It's a long link, or just go out and Google Panama Immigration Friendly Nations Visa. You'll find that link on Google. Here's the documents you're going to need. First of all, you're going to need your original birth certificate for each member of the family. It will need to be apostilled in the state it was issued. In other words, if you go to the State Department of Records for the birth certificate, send it on over to the Secretary of State's office and they will apostille it. They'll send it back to you, and you're going to then send it to the consulate, the Panama consulate, and they will apostille it for you, and then from there, that document's ready to come for your immigration package. I have people that ask, what does apostilled mean? Apostilled is a guarantee and a certification from a government agency that says this document is real. It wasn't photocopied at Kinko's. So Panama wants to know that you got a real birth certificate, that the state that it was issued in backs up and verifies that, and then they want their own consulate to back up that thing, and then they'll talk to you about immigration. A little bit of a hassle, but not much, because for me, when I got our birth certificates, I just said, forward it on over to the Secretary of State for apostille. It was an extra $20, I think, and then send it on back to me. So that is the process for all documents. The next, if you're married, you need an original marriage license, the exact same thing. You will need FBI, fingerprints, and a background check. So check with your state, your local police, sheriff's department. In Texas, we just went down to the sheriff's department. They did our fingerprints, and then we filled out the fingerprint card and all that and sent it into the FBI with a little check, of course. And of course, because this is a federal document, it needs to be sent then to the Department of State, which is a federal agency, and they will apostille it. One note, make sure that you include and demand that they apostille this for the nation of Panama. There are different apostilles, and you don't want them getting the wrong one on your document after all of your hard work. Apostilled for the nation of Panama. And then, of course, you'll send it on over to the Panama consulate for a further apostille. Now, this can change from day to day. So when you have an attorney, and you are going to be recommended tonight to get an attorney to help you with this process, have your attorney tell you exactly which documents are still in effect. If someone watches this 6 months from now, it may be different. So check with your attorney on exactly what you need for the time you're living in. Next, you'll need your valid passport with some time left on it. I don't remember exactly, but please don't come with only 3 months left on your passport. I don't think you're going to get the job done. Make sure you've got some years. Most passports are done 10 years for adults and 5 years for children. So just bring a good passport with some time left on it. Next, when you get in here, your attorney's going to help you, and you're going to form a Panama corporation. It's called an SA, or Sociedad Anónima. That's in Spanish. It's just simply a C Corp. You set this up because for your friendly nation's visa, you are telling them, I want to come in and start a business. I want to do something. I want to help the economy. I want to come in and create jobs. I want to help the people. And so with that, the best thing to do is start a corporation. And that corporation, the requirement will be that the head of your household has to own at least 50% of the share of the stock. Your attorney will take care of all this. It's not hard. You don't have to even remember most of this. The attorney will remind you of all of it. And then you're going to need a Panama bank account. You're going to have to load it up with some certified funds. So it could be, for an individual, $5,000. Family of 4 may be $11,000 or $12,000 you have to put in your bank account to show that you've got some money to pay rent with and to start your business or to buy food, so you're not over here stuck in their nation and they're going to have to take care of you. Once those certified funds have been certified, the bank will issue a letter certifying those funds. They'll issue that right when you're going in for the immigration process at the end of all the document gathering. Once those funds have been certified, it's my understanding you can take them and use them. However, if at any time the Panama government wanted to see another certification of funds, you may have to reload that account to make sure that that certification paper says that the funds are still in there. I've never heard of it happening, but our attorney did tell us it could. Once our certification letter was in, we took the funds out and bought a car, and they were never requested to go back in again. These are the documents you need. Now, If you go to Costa Rica, you're going to need about 3 times more documents in Costa Rica than what the Friendly Nations visa is asking for. This is a slam dunk. It's a piece of cake. Now, it will be some work, but it certainly won't be the work that I went through to become a resident in Costa Rica. I worked for 6 solid weeks of 40-hour weeks to get our paperwork together to run from point, stamp here, a signature there, a document over here. This is so easy and such a blessing. It's almost like the Lord is saying, look, the chariot is swinging low, jump on. It just takes a little bit of effort. Now imagine when you get your Friendly Nations visa, your immigration set up, you take your documentation in with your attorney, and you apply. Within 48 hours, you will be a temporary resident of Panama. You'll have a resident card. And your temporary residency is good for a year. But the permanent residency is on its way. Typically 6 to 8 weeks is what it's taking right now. That could change, but typically that's what it's taking when you get your permanent card. Think about this for a moment. You are, for the rest of your life, and your family members, children, mom, dad, whoever you bring with you, they are invited for the rest of their lives. You're invited to live here, to stay here, to open a bank account, basically to do just about anything that a Panamanian citizen can do except vote. There are just a few little restrictions, but you have a place of legal guarantee that you can live on this planet the rest of your life. Now, the Lord has told us to go to all the nations, not just one, but this would sure be a great place to have a legal document where you have residency status. People ask, now, if I do that, do I have to give up my passport? Am I no longer a U.S. citizen? Absolutely, you are a U.S. citizen. You will not get a passport in Panama. You are immigrating, and you're only providing your residency. You're living here. But you are still a United States citizen. Your passport, all of your citizenship, everything is still valid and functioning. Now, if you choose in the future, Panama will allow you to apply for citizenship after 5 years of residency in their nation. You're going to need to speak their language. You're going to need to know their history. They're not going to let you just jump the border, come in, and get free entitlements. That doesn't work in any other nation except the United States right now. So, but within 5 years after your immigration in, you can apply to become a citizen. However, take note, Panama does request that you give up your other citizenship to become a Panama citizen. So that is a decision to make. I've met people who did give up their U.S. or Canadian citizenship for the Panamanian, and I've met those that didn't. And Panama's not chasing around wondering if, to make sure that you did, but if you were ever caught not giving up when you had promised to do it, it could bring some jeopardy to your Panamanian citizenship, just for fair warning. Okay, we're running down here, almost finished. Now, just for a moment, this slide talks about banking. You are going to have to get a bank account before you immigrate in or start your residency program. It's getting tough to bank. My friend, if you are a U.S. citizen, you are on the hit list for banks. They do not like dealing with U.S. citizens because of basically the terror threat that's on them by dealing with you. Our United States Treasury Department, IRS, Department of Treasury has made it so tough on these banks. If they don't provide all accounting information and provide all access into your life, then they will lose their ability to do business in the dollar. Now, in the future, I don't think that's going to be a problem, but for now, they're scared to death. And when you come walking through the little rotating door and they see U.S. citizen written on your forehead, some of them are just saying, turn around and go right back out that door. We're not doing business with you. But some are. now is the time. If you ever wanted to get a flag planted outside of the U.S., if you ever wanted another bank account anywhere else, I would say this is the time to do it and make hay while the sun's shining, because this is going to shut down. When the Iron Curtain starts dropping, you won't be allowed to move money around out of the U.S., back into the U.S., or into Panama. Right now, it's already tough. And Andrew, would you take it for just a moment and just give a little bit of encouragement here on the banking situation with some of the stories that you know and the things that are going on with the tightening of the banking process?
Normally, you could take a U.S. check and you could deposit into a Panamanian bank. In 2 weeks, you would have your funds available. But I know someone last week that took a U.S. check to their bank down in Davida, and they said we're no longer accepting international checks. Complained for a while. They said, "We'll make an exception this time," and they charged them an extra $100. So, we're just seeing lots of signs showing that they're going to make it a little bit more difficult. I know there's, I think, 3 banks here in Panama now that are charging, I can't remember if it was $250 or $350, somewhere in that range, extra if you're a U.S. citizen, just because of all the extra paperwork they're having to do to comply with FATCA, and it's taking a lot of time to do all that stuff. I know one banker here that I know personally said that they're having to go through their previous documentation and make sure that they have a current U.S. IRS statement or tax filing showing that they have filed taxes recently. And if they cannot produce that document, then they're being ordered to close the account. It's just a lot of pressure that's happening from the U.S. government, and so it's not going to get any better. Broke governments do very desperate things, and like what Daniel was saying, this is just a window of opportunity that all of us have to go serve the Lord in another nation that is friendly to the gospel. And so I just encourage you that if this is what the Lord is putting on your heart to do, that you don't wait around and think that you have lots of time to make decisions. If the Lord's saying go, then you need to go. And I believe also that once you make this decision to go, and you've heard from the Lord, I say to people, we burned our ship in the harbor when we arrived. That going back was not an option. I don't know what it is. So there's just some sort of a slumbering spirit, or obviously a deceiving spirit. But I know people that go there, and after they go back to the States, they maybe just there to visit. They say, they start feeling like there's nothing wrong. Just they hear those voices calling them back. So, but you have to know that this is time to go, and I believe that the Lord will make everything available for you if you'll just take that step of obedience and just move forward. One thing that we have is a network of people that are already here. We have kind of what I would call maybe a full gospel businessmen's association, or just a group of businessmen or Christians that meet together once a week, and we just discuss ideas, and this is just a way that we could understand or know each other's gifts and talents and abilities, and begin to use each other's talents, and maybe recommend if somebody knew how to build something or whatever, and somebody needs something done, or they knew how to work on a computer and somebody needs some computer work done, we could start networking. And so that's what we're trying to establish, which makes it much easier on people that are coming, if there's some sort of a networking group and believers already together that have this in place, it makes somebody else's move a lot easier.
The banks are tightening down. This is they're making an attempt to go to a cashless society, of course, and to track every transaction. That's going to be tough to do in Central America because so many farmers and so many Panamanians don't even have a bank account. I mean, everything's cash out here. So if you're trying to maybe save some of your assets from the boogeyman or from the one world cashless society, finding one of these nations, having the Lord send you into one of them that is heavy in cash, was probably going to be a very good thing. I do have to mention to you, personally, I've had personal instances where we've actually lost a couple of farm purchase opportunities because we could not get our cash out of the country that it's in over to Panama. There are all kinds of stipulations now in the U.S. and in other nations that are saying, well, if you want to take $5,000 out, well, what are you going to do with it? You know what? $5,000 doesn't go very far with a family of 4 or 8 or 10 people. In Panama. I mean, it costs a lot of money to live out here. We're not living on $100 a month, right? So what do you want? What are you doing with this? If you're going to send some funds out, we tried to get some funds out to buy a piece of farm property, and the Panama Bank, being so scared, they said, "Look, where did this money come from?" And so many people answer and say, well, it doesn't matter, it's my money. And they say, well, it does matter because we're not going to let you put it into Panama unless you tell us where it came from. God knows you may be a terrorist or a drug dealer, right? So you really have to, anything over $10,000, you've got to provide backup. Did you sell a house? Well, you better have some backup paperwork that shows where this money came from. If you slowly invested over the years, $100 a month, and it accumulated, and you got this big cash cow, you're going to have to show where it came from. In other words, probably 3 years of banking statements showing you put $100 a month in and it just slowly accumulated. They have to know. It's part of the requirement. This is the good side of the squeeze. The bad side of the squeeze comes when they say, no, it can't happen anymore. I personally believe that day is coming, probably sooner than later. So as Andrew said, get busy. And this is the time to move. A Panama bank account will require some documentation. I'm going to tell you the most stringent documentation right now, which is coming out of what I know to be Scotiabank. They have a good bilingual bank here. They know you by name when you walk in. It's a great little bank, but they're heavy on requirements. There's some other banks, like the Banismo, like you see down in the corner there, they require less. But if you'll bring as much as you can get a bank account in one of these banks. Now, Scotia requires 2 bank letters showing that you've been working with a bank for 2 years minimum. You have to provide a couple years of IRS tax returns. You need a lease agreement in Panama so they know that you are living in Panama. You may need a post office box, or you need something to come in for that bank account. You need your passport and some personal reference letters. There could be other things. I'm seeing that Scotiabank changes. They add and subtract every other week, it seems. So if you want a Scotiabank Panama account, then you need to get the current list before you come over and bring it all over. Again, wire transfers over $10,000. You need to be prepared to produce a letter from your bank talking about the relationship and some verification where those funds came from. Once you get it over here, then you're free. And they're not going to ask you any more questions, and it's just this handshake between the United States and any other nation. It's a very frail, scary thing from the point of the bank, because if they lose their ability to do business in the dollar, they're out of business. That's just the way it is. Okay, so one other quick thing here on the bank account. It's really recommended. I recommend you get your bank account, come over for a discovery trip, get your immigration documents, and bring them with you on the discovery trip. Hand them to your attorney, and let them start translating everything over into Spanish. That's part of the deal. That's what the attorney does. If you come over and you have to have it all fast, there's going to be extra fees that you really shouldn't have to go through or pay. Just bring them over, give them some time, start the immigration process. Once you get your temporary permit, you spend a week, 10 days over here, you got your bank account, you got things lined up, then you can go back home if you need to, sell your things, close up shop, and get ready for the big move over. Okay? Also, all documents, when you start your FBI and all your immigration documents, they're good for a period of 6 months. from the oldest date of the documents ordered and apostilled. So let's say your birth certificate comes in first and it shows up May 15th, and that's the date on it. From May 15th forward, you have 6 months to get everything in and get your residency applied for. So move quickly. And I recommend that you do everything Federal Express, especially pay the extra service for the FBI background checks. Amazingly enough, so many people are getting background checks because they're leaving that the FBI sometimes is out 4 or 5 months getting your fingerprints back to you. And if they failed, if your fingerprints failed, you just wasted 4 or 5 months and you got to do it all over again. You lose all your documents. If you will spend the extra $80 or $100, the FBI background check can be in your hands in 5 days. Send it back to the Department of State. They'll have it back in another 5 days and you're good to go. Just make hay. The sun is shining, but the dark clouds are coming. So just get it done as fast as possible. Again, when you start the immigration process in Panama, plan to be in Panama City for 5 to 7 days. Maybe a day later, your attorney will help you schedule that. If they can work it differently or more efficiently, they'll be able to do that with you. But all family members need to be present. Once you apply for immigration, you should have a temporary residence card in 48 hours, and your permanent card is on its way 6 to 8 weeks, or maybe a little longer. It doesn't matter. Once you've got that temporary, the other is in works, that other is on its way. Now, important, you see here on the document, in red, important. When you work with your attorney to start immigration, make absolutely certain that you get a multiple entry visa stamped into your passport. At all costs, make sure this is done, because without it, if you have to leave Panama for any reason before your immigration process is complete, when you return, you could face a fine of thousands of dollars per family member because you don't have the multiple entry visa. I'm saying this today. The attorneys that we work with are good. They already know this. But you get what you pay for, and there's a lot of bad attorneys out there in Panama. It's not like the U.S. There's not a high bar for them to pass. They can go through their attorney process, and I know one attorney that she paid $17 per semester to go to college to become an attorney. You get what you pay for. And if they just happen to forget to put the multiple entry visa in, that costs you, not them. And it's not like you can go back and sue them. This nation is not like the lawsuit Happy USA. So, important, just make sure that you and your attorney are on the same page, that before you leave town with that temporary immigration card, you have a multiple entry visa pass. I don't have time to get into the details. The bottom line is, though, a person could effectively come in with their FBI background check. They could start the immigration process, leave Panama, commit a major crime, and come back to Panama and immigrate in, and there's nothing that could be done. That multiple entry visa lets everyone know that you are leaving the country and coming back, and I think it gives them an extra tick to check before they hand you that final deal. I think there's one last check to make sure you're not on some Interpol as a most wanted. Something like that. All right. While you're over getting your immigration, the moment you get your temporary passport, your temporary immigration card, once you get your temporary residence card, the government of Panama will not let you drive on your U.S. driver's license. You're going to need to schedule an extra day, maybe 2. If you got a good attorney, they'll get it done all in just one morning and early afternoon. You need to go and get your driver's license from Panama. It's easy if you have a U.S. or Canadian driver's license. All you have to do is get a couple things done and go get your eye and ear exam, and they'll hand you the Panamanian driver's license, and you're totally legal and totally good to go. Drive down the road, get yourself a home, start a business, you're ready to roll. So this is important. Here's how you do it. You set an appointment with the U.S. Embassy in Panama City while you're doing your immigration work, or you could go down and get a driver's license without the immigration work. But you need to set it well in advance, because the U.S. Embassy, sometimes it'll take 5 to 7 days just to get in to see them. So make sure you set your appointment with them in advance. You can do it online. And take your U.S. license, driver's license, and your passport with you, and they will apostille your driver's license and as authentic. They charge a little fee. I think it's 30 or 35 bucks, something like that. You're always just going to learn to have that extra $50 in your pocket for the next apostille. So you get the apostille from the embassy. Then you're going to go to a medical clinic. They're going to give you a little driver's blood test to prove your blood type, because your driver's license will have your blood type on it in case of an emergency or you're in a hospital and they need to give you blood. Then from there, with those two docs, you will go down to the driver's license bureau, get in line, get your number, and hand over the documents. They'll give you an eye and ear test, and in a few minutes after you're done with that, you'll have your driver's license in the same day, and it's finished. So that's important to know. Seems like a lot, but really this is the easiest nation I've seen to immigrate into of all the nations that I've looked at, and especially lived in Costa Rica. That was a nightmare over there. If you want to move to Costa Rica, I'll help you get in and I'll help you get through the process. But that process, what you heard tonight, just take it times 3 minimum. And that's what that process will be. Beautiful nation, but if you're a resident of Panama, you can go over to Costa Rica anytime you want. You're just about an hour and a half away from Costa Rica. Spend time over there, jump in their ocean, and come back over here and enjoy Panama. Okay, right before I pass this back over to Andrew for some final thoughts, and then we will open up for questions and answers, I want to give you a couple of attorney names. Now, Andrew and I are going to give you this attorney because we believe in this attorney. And this attorney is Renelda Mattikelly. Renelda did my family's visa work and did Andrew's visa work. Here's their information, how to contact them. I would call them the boutique Panamanian immigration law firm, the best there is. They actually have hired the lawyers who used to be in the immigration department in Panama City. They now work for her, so they know the process. If they ever need to, they can make a call in. They can get a lot of favors done. And this is the closest thing to a marble-floored boutique United States attorney firm that you will ever see. These guys go through a lot of trouble to get your stuff done really fast and efficient, but they'll never let you know the trouble they're going through. It's just a lot of work on their end, and they're so professional, and they do a great job, fully bilingual, and Renelda is a really wonderful woman with a huge staff of people. This is all they do, is immigration work. They're in Panama City, and they're not cheap. They're the boutique law firm, but in a day like this, where some people we've found who just grab any old attorney online, they might be a year or two, and their paperwork might get lost, and they're caught in this black hole and don't know what to do. This will never happen with Renelda Mattikelly. So just 2 thumbs up on that law firm, and I know Andrew sends people that way as well. And he was the one who recommended this law firm to Tracy and I. We jumped over there, and we were blown away just by the excellence that they offered. Now, since we come over here, I've personally made friends with a young woman who, she is an attorney. Her name's Yvonne Palma. There's her business card. She does not only immigration, but her mother owns the law firm in David. They have a lot of lawyers down there. And so she's the daughter and the heir of the law firm, and she does not only immigration, but she does corporate work, building that SA, and she also does a lot of real estate work. So she personally saved us 2 times from a 6-figure loss over the last 9 months. She saved us when other attorneys would not have. She caught some stuff that was going on underhanded, and she looked us in the eye and said, walk away. This deal is not good for you. Walk away. We were very thankful for that. She's my attorney over here now for all the things that we're doing with farming and agriculture and business. So, and there are others. There's others out there, but these are 2 just to give you an idea. If you want to email either one of those and say, hey, I'm interested, send me your packet, what do I need to bring and what do I need to do? They'll give you the most up-to-date packet of documents that you need and how the process goes. All right, very good. And Andrew, can I throw you on now, and you take anything that I missed on this, please?
Well, I just want to give one more heads up on some of the fences that are going higher. Is that you have to show a round trip ticket when you leave the United States, and you can't, without a visa, you can't go on a one-way ticket like we could 2.5 years ago when we first came here, almost 3 now, for our final move. So just to let you know that things are changing quickly, and there's the rules are changing as we go, but they're getting more difficult. And so I just want to let you all know that's why time is very important right now. And if you're making decisions, we'll do everything we can to help expedite whatever on our end and whatever information, because we've already had to go through the learning curve of what it takes. And so anyway, I don't have a whole lot more to add other than that. I think maybe we can just open it up for some questions, Daniel.
All right. If you don't have your microphone enabled, there's probably a place for you to click that mic on. And feel free to, if you would, tell us just your first name, and we'll probably know who you are. Give your first name and tell us what your question is.
This is Alexandra. I about the bank. Could you repeat? Did you say Bankissimo and what's required to open an account?
You need to have a referral letter from your bank. They ask for 2, but I think 1 would probably do if you only have 1 bank account. And it's just something that's stating that you are a client of theirs in good standing, maybe how many years that you've been with the bank. And then you'll need to have 2 years of tax filings from the IRS. You can have if you need a referral from somebody here in Panama, we'd be glad to just give you a referral on our end as a person that refers you to the bank. Then you can think of other things that Benicio would need. They don't need it quite as much as Scotia Bank does, and really all you need is a bank account. And sometimes, we went to Scotia Bank because it was close by where we had an office and where we were living. But honestly, I would just get a bank account at one of the easier banks, because once you get a bank account at one bank, then you can get another bank account at another bank too. But it's mainly just getting your feet, planted.
That is true. Yeah, that's it. That's the one he's talking about. Yeah, right. And I just threw 3 of those banks on this page here, but there's a ton of them out here. And what you'll find is Scotia has a debit card with a Visa logo on it, and you'll find that if they connect you into the Visa debit scenario where your card is good anywhere in the world, typically it seems like they want a little bit more information from you, like Scotia wants 2 years of tax returns and a lease agreement and personal reference letters and all of that. But Banismo, I don't believe that their debit card works anywhere except in the Banismo ATMs. So if they're just a bank it's a bank that only works in Panama, and you kind of got to go find them to get cash if you're traveling, there's going to be a whole lot less requirement on you than, let's say, Scotia Bank. As Andrew said, you might want to start there. Get your bank account there, get some cash opened up, and then from there you can bounce into another account. However, personally, I would just bring as much information as I could and just plan on just go get that bank account if you can all at once. Get the premier bank account that you need while you're here. Scotia sometimes will take a little while to do it, but Andrew and I both know a gentleman that walked in one day and just got his account within like an hour and a half, I believe it was. We were blown away. They just gave this guy his account, he had his paperwork in order, and it was done. So, again, there's probably 15 different types of banks here, and they're all basically going to do business with you. They all have a little bit different requirement. Banismo is probably the easiest.
Okay, well, the 2 years filings, they need to be consecutive years?
Yes, that's correct.
Roughly the last two that you filed.
Okay. That's it, just the letter of one or two letters of recommendation, a letter from someone like yourself recommending us and a 2 years tax filing. Can you open it with cash?
You sure can.
Yes, I believe you can.
Yeah, you can open with cash.
Customs, do they ask you how much or?
No, I don't think. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that the whole customs thing is really overblown. I personally have walked into a country before with well over $10,000, claiming it to see what would happen, and nothing happened except an armed security guard escorting me outside and a little piece of paper that I had to fill out. A lot of people are afraid of they're going to confiscate my cash. It's not true. It's just that you have to claim over 10 grand, 10,000. If you're taking it out, you claim it because the U.S. Department of Treasury wants a little sheet of paper that says how much you're taking out. Now, I did this, just to be honest with you, I took a bunch over to Costa Rica because I wanted to buy a car, and I didn't want to buy a car under $10,000, which won't get you much in Costa Rica. And so I took more out, and when they said, "What are you doing with this money?" on the Costa Rican side, it's like I was the only guy who'd ever brought that amount of money and claimed it. They said, "What are you doing with it?" I said, "I'm buying a car. I'm planning to live here." And they said, "Welcome to Costa Rica." And everyone was just as happy as could be, and it was a very easy process. I'm not sure what DHS or I'm not sure what they'll do on the U.S. side. But you don't have to claim it on the U.S. side. You claim it in the air when you're filling out your
Right.
Yeah.
As long as you're bringing under 10, then they don't generally question you or try to see it or check your wallet or.
Well, I've never had that happen. Now, there may be a day we find out that the times have changed, but right now it costs a lot of money to move a family, and for someone in their right mind to even think that, what are you doing with $8,000 going to Panama with your family of four? Well, that's, some people spend that on vacation in 3 or 4 days. So I don't think that, transporting under 10,000, I don't think that you're going to find that to be an issue. Split a little of it up among family members. Do whatever you feel that you need to do. But I don't think you're going to have any problems. And yes, you can open with cash. You sure can. I opened up with some cash at Scotia. They did not want me to open with more than $5,000 per deposit. So I opened up with 5. The next day I walked in with another 5. And that was just their requirement. I think you'll be okay opening with cash. And on the personal reference letters, the guys that I've watched come in to town there'll be guys who'll come in and they'll have 3 or 4 business reference letters. They'll have personal reference letters, and one man that I have watched doors open for him miraculously. People will, a lot of times they'll say, "Well, do you have any reference letters?" And this guy would pull out 6 of them and say, "How many do you want?" And they would look at him with great big wide eyes open and thinking, "Oh, this guy's got 6 letters, give him the red carpet treatment." And so if you can just bring a handful of docs, including some personal reference letters, and it will open doors for you all over the nation in many different capacities.
Thank you.
While you may be thinking about your questions, we will be doing more of these, and we're going to be talking about jobs, business, how to do business, the rules of business in Panama, how to be smart and wise. We're going to use some biblical concepts and principles that will get you a long way down the road, which most people in this country don't understand or know about. We will be talking about culture shock. What is the culture like? What will happen to my family in the first 3 months when we come to a nation that speaks 2 languages and lives a little bit different than we're used to? We'll talk about those things. We've got probably going to be doing one of these per week, so be looking and ready to jump in. We'll continue this process. Please email Andrew or email myself, and we will answer those emailed questions for sure on each of these programs. Just in case you couldn't make it live, then you can go back and watch it recorded, and your question will be answered out there. Any other questions?
I have a question. This is Herman speaking, and I am questioning, obviously, if I go down to Panama or anywhere else to either rent or to buy, what do you tend to see as far as the way to go? I presume most people probably end up renting or leasing for a time before buying something. I would presume that makes logical sense, but what do you guys see, and is Boquete's property values increasing with the increased expat demand down there?
We personally have decided to rent at this point in time. This is just my take on what I see. I saw what happened here just after 2008 when the housing market took a big hit up in America. It took an equal hit down here as well. A lot of the building projects stopped, and because the liquidity dried up. And so I'm foreseeing another little real estate hit again here in the very near future. They got approximately 2 million properties on the shadow inventory that aren't being put out, that are actually foreclosed on, but the banks are not releasing them. Many vampire loans, people not paying their mortgage payments right now. So the housing market in the United States is not a true market. And so I believe there's going to be a big correction. It's going to probably find its way down here as well. So I'm just sitting at the moment, and I'm just going to wait to purchase until I see the prices come down. I believe that they will. That's just my personal take. So in the meantime, I've been renting and just holding my money in another form of an asset that is still liquid. So that's just my choice. There are a lot of places to rent, and people seem to be coming and going. I'm amazed at seeing a lot of gringos going back to the United States right now. But it's just making opportunities for people like you all that want to find a place to rent. Sometimes people have homes. They just need caretakers for the home while they're back in the States for 6 months. So there are places available, and when you come here, one of the things that we do offer is there's another fellow that is starting a place called Cherokee Farms, and he has a couple cars that he rents at a good price. I'm holding a friend of mine's apartment open, and I'm just renting it from him, or renting it from the landlord, and I'm using that for people that want to come, and I just schedule people when they come, and it's about half the price of a hotel here. So we're just trying to make as much available. We actually go down and pick people up at the airport and bring them up to the apartment, and then take them back to the airport when they're ready to go. Is kind of a service that we're offering just to help people, so it make their transition and their exploratory trip as easy as possible. So if you know there's a period of time that you're kind of thinking, hey, middle of May, we're really thinking about coming for a week to check it out, just email us, and then we will do what we can to schedule you or find you a place to stay and make your exploratory trip as easy as possible, so you can really get a feel of what the city's like and what the country's like, and really just kind of take some of that stress off you, so you can just really hear clearly from the Lord what He wants you to do. And I know for us, we didn't really know for sure what we were supposed to do until we got here, and then it was just one confirmation after another that this is where we were supposed to be. And so sometimes it may be a confirming trip when you do come. And so we just want people that come here to know they've heard from the Lord, because honestly, if we spend a lot of time with people and help people the best we can, and then they just decide, we think we're just going to go on back. I mean, the time that we spent with them, it could have been on somebody that was going to stay here and be a blessing and a benefit to what God wants to do here. So that's why I think it's so important for each person to really pray, maybe fast, really seek the Lord with all their heart. if they're married. The Lord has called you to one as one, and what He spoke to my wife, He spoke to me, or vice versa, and it helped as a confirming word. I know Daniel and his wife as well. When Daniel felt like this is where he's supposed to be, he brought his wife here, and they couldn't get here quick enough. But it was just a confirmation that this was the Lord's will. So, these are just some things that, and we are here to help and offer any information that we can. And so I know Daniel agrees with feels the same way.
Amen. Let me throw in with that for just a second. In the United States, we've been involved with rental properties for decades, and there's a rule in the U.S., and that is a rental property rents for 1/100th of the price of the home. So if it's a $100,000 home, it rents for $1,000 a month. That is not the case here in Panama. Boquete has what I think is the top of a bubble. It's very expensive here to buy a home. The first thing you hear people say is that there's, I think, 14 microclimates or something like that right here in Boquete. So on one side of the street, you may get, 100 inches of rain a year, and the other side it's just hot and sticky. And so you need to get in here and really find out where you like to live, where you want to live, I think, before you just jump in and buy maybe the right home at the wrong location. Also, because pricing is so high, I think, as Andrew said, when that price correction comes and when the trouble hits in the Western world, it's definitely going to hit here because the money comes down through U.S. citizens into Panama to a great degree. That's why the inflated prices. Panamanians aren't going to pay $500,000 for a house on the hill. That's U.S. and Canadians doing that. And if they get hit in the pocket, those big homes are going to come down in price. So we are also renters, and we will not be buyers until the deal of the lifetime comes. I personally think, not in all homes, but I think some we will see 70% off. That's the number that I believe is going to happen. That's just from years of research and putting my nose and my pencil to the paper. Now, 1/100th is the rental price in the U.S., but in Panama, you can come to Panama and we can take you into the most premier golf course community. It's called Valle Escondido. It's a beautiful community. You can rent a house there, maybe for $2,000 a month. It's going to be a gorgeous house, or you can buy it for $1 million. So typically the 1/100th doesn't work there. $1 million house should rent for $10,000 a month in the U.S. But you can rent a $1 million home for $2,000. Why is that? It's because there's a lack of renters here who can afford those prices. Now, for most, you may probably, if you're going to be making a move, you don't want to spend $2,000 a month. Let's talk about an $800 a month house. There's houses in nice gated communities around here and non-gated communities. You can rent them for $800 to $1,000 a month, or you can buy them for $300,000 or $400,000. That's wrong. That means there's a bubble in the price of the property, and I just personally think you do very well to come in only looking to rent until you find that perfect location and the timing's right. Because when that thing hits in North America, the pricing will also come down here. It's going to come down, 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 and I would not want to be caught in a $250,000 or $300,000 home that's only going to be worth $120,000 in a year or two or 5. I would rather just rent my way into the new world and keep my assets. Listen to this word. This is one that Andrew gave us. Andrew gave this word to me this last week. He said, liquidity. You need liquidity. Don't sacrifice liquidity just for a hard asset that you're going to sit on and you can't maintain. So liquidity kind of means keep your assets in some other form, and then when the time's right, attack. Take your liquidity and get the deal of a lifetime. I really believe Elijah's chariot's going to swing down low one more time for you and for me. And if we know who it is we're supposed to be, what businesses, what place, what homes, where are we supposed to be and what are we supposed to be invested in, if you know that, you will be able to make a one-time investment into a dynasty that will build for your children's children. That's if the Lord tarries and doesn't come. But I believe that day's coming, and we'll see it all over the world. Wherever you're at, you're going to have the opportunity. So I'm just with Andrew. Rent, rent, rent. We've had a great time tonight, and I want to thank you all for being with us. This is recorded. We will be offering this up on the web here shortly as soon as we can get it modified and up there. You can share it with your friends or watch it one more time. Be looking for next week. We'll be doing another one of these probably this next week. Looking forward to that, and we will not do immigration again. We will refer people to the immigration video, but we're going to take another big chunk off of, another big bite off of the elephant, and we'll talk about another subject and theme this next week. Andrew, any final closing comments?
Just thank everybody for joining us, and we're available by email if you have any more questions.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. And again, Andrew's website is Strength for the Journey. I'll put it up here on the video, strength4thejourney.com. And Andrew, is it info@strengthforthejourney.com?
Just use it, my strength, and then thejourney.com. It's actually my strength for the journey at yahoo.com.
My strength, 4 the journey at yahoo.com. There we go. Okay, very good. And of course, I'm at drdanieldaves.com. You can get all my junk out there. And we have my dream number 2 is actually on the front page. When you get out there, it'll auto start for you, and you'll get a chance to dive with me down into the caves. Exactly what I saw in 2008. Our video team did a great job putting that thing together for us. Thank you very much, folks, and God bless you. We're going to be praying for you. Pray for success, supernatural open doors that no man can close. And may the Lord close the doors that no man can open. And may your feet be blessed. Let those feet that are on the hills be blessed, that are bringing good news to the nations. I'm thankful for you, and we sure hope to see you on your discovery trip or on your move down into Panama, if that's God's will for you. God bless you. We'll see you soon.